Brink's armored car robbery. On January 17, 1950, in the Charlestown neighborhood of Boston, Massachusetts, 11 men carried out what was then the largest armed robbery in U.S. history. The target was the Brink's Armored Car Depot, a facility known for its strict security and complex alarm systems. Disguised in Navy-style coats, gloves, and Halloween masks, the men entered the depot shortly after 7 p.m. They held 5 employees at gunpoint, binding and gagging them while emptying cash from safes and containers. Within half an hour, they escaped with more than $2.7 million in cash, coins, and securities, equivalent to over $30 million today. The robbers left no fingerprints and carried out the heist with near-military precision. For years, authorities found no substantial leads. The FBI called it the crime of the century, and it became a symbol of organized criminal planning in the post-war era. 6 years later, one of the gang members, Joseph O'Keefe, was captured after a shootout and eventually turned informant. His testimony led to the arrest of the others in 1956, just days before the statute of limitations would have expired. Most of the stolen money was never recovered, and the Brink's robbery became a landmark case in American criminal history, showing how discipline and brutality could intersect within a single plan. The Lufthansa Heist. In the early hours of December 11, 1978, a cargo terminal at John F. Kennedy International Airport in New York became the scene of one of the most audacious robberies ever committed on U.S. soil. The operation targeted the Lufthansa Airlines vault, known to store foreign currency flown in from overseas. A team of 6 masked men, led by associates of the Lucchese crime family, forced entry through a security gate with insider assistance. Armed and efficient, they subdued employees, tied them up, and demanded access to the high-value storage room. In just over an hour, the group escaped with $5 million in cash and $875,000 in jewelry, the largest cash robbery ever recorded in the United States at that time. Despite the violence implied, only one guard was physically assaulted, but the aftermath proved far deadlier. Over the following years, numerous individuals connected to the heist were murdered, likely to eliminate witnesses or those suspected of betrayal. The case became infamous through media portrayals, most notably inspiring the film Goodfellas. Yet beneath the dramatization lay a grim reality. Of the dozens involved or linked, almost none survived to spend the stolen money. The bodies found in cars, fields, and rivers illustrated that the true brutality of the Lufthansa heist came not from the robbery itself, but from the systematic killings that followed. Norco Shootout. On May 9, 1980, in Norco, California, a planned bank robbery escalated into one of the most violent shootouts in American law enforcement history. 5 heavily armed men, led by George Wayne Smith, entered a Security Pacific bank equipped with assault rifles, homemade explosives, and thousands of rounds of ammunition. Their intent was not only to rob the bank, but also to trigger a diversionary explosion afterward to aid their escape. The robbery went wrong almost immediately. An alarm was triggered, and responding officers arrived within minutes. What followed was a prolonged and chaotic gun battle that stretched across 40 miles, involving police helicopters, car chases, and a firefight in the San Bernardino Mountains. 2 civilians and 1 officer were killed, while 8 officers were wounded. The robbers used military-grade firepower, including AR-15 rifles and improvised grenades, outmatching local police equipment at the time. The event led to a major reassessment of law enforcement armament policies across the United States. Police departments began to acquire heavier weapons and tactical training, a legacy born from a robbery that blurred the line between crime and urban warfare. Banco Central Burglary. In August 2005, in the city of Fortaleza, Brazil, authorities discovered one of the most elaborate and non-violent yet devastating bank robberies ever committed. Over the course of 3 months, a group of criminals posing as landscapers rented a small house near the Banco Central building. From there, they dug a tunnel, stretching 78 meters beneath 2 city blocks, carefully reinforced and fitted with lighting and ventilation. The tunnel emerged directly beneath the bank's vault. On the weekend of August 6th and 7th, the gang entered the vault undetected, removing an estimated 160 million reais, roughly 70 million US dollars. They left no alarms triggered and no immediate trace of entry. When bank staff arrived Monday morning, the vault door was still locked from the inside. The sophistication of the operation drew international attention. Brazilian authorities later described it as a feat of engineering more than a typical robbery. However, the aftermath was grim. Several members of the group were murdered by associates or criminal organizations seeking a share of the stolen cash. Only a small portion of the money was ever recovered, and the case remains a reference point in global criminal history. Proof that precision and brutality can coexist even in silence. Knightsbridge Security Deposit Robbery. On July 12, 1987, 2 men entered the Knightsbridge Safe Deposit Center in London, requesting to rent a security box. Moments later, they drew guns and overpowered the manager, forcing him to give access to the vault. The mastermind was Valerio Vice, an Italian criminal already wanted for multiple armed robberies in his home country. With assistance from insiders, Vice and his accomplices opened dozens of safe deposit boxes, filling bags with cash, jewelry, and valuables. The total stolen was valued at more than $60 million, equivalent to nearly $150 million today. The robbers escaped before police could respond, but their success was short-lived. Forensic evidence, including fingerprints on a bottle of champagne left in the vault, led to Vice's identification and arrest. The robbery was notable not only for its immense scale, but for the violence that preceded and followed it. Witnesses inside the center were threatened at gunpoint, and several were physically assaulted. Vice himself died in 2000 during a gunfight with police in Italy, reportedly while on day release from prison to retrieve his luxury car. The Knightsbridge case remains one of the largest cash and valuables robberies in British history. A stark reminder of how opulence, arrogance, and aggression can define a single crime. The Hatton Garden Heist. Over the Easter weekend of April 2015, a group of elderly men, all retired professional criminals, carried out one of the most remarkable burglaries in modern British history. The target was the Hatton Garden Safe Deposit Company in central London, a facility that held jewelry and cash for hundreds of clients. Using drills, hydraulic lifts, and detailed surveillance, the gang descended through an elevator shaft into the basement vault. Over 2 days, they drilled through a reinforced concrete wall 50 centimeters thick, gaining access to more than 70 safety deposit boxes. The estimated haul reached $14 million in valuables. Though the robbers avoided direct violence, their crime reflected a lifetime of criminal expertise. Most were in their 60s and 70s, with decades of experience in safe cracking and burglary. Police investigations later revealed months of careful planning, including reconnaissance, duplicate keys, and timed power cuts. However, greed fractured the group. Surveillance of a secret meeting led to the arrests of most members within weeks. The Hatton Garden Heist captivated the public for its unusual mixture of professionalism, age, and endurance. A story of criminals at the twilight of their lives attempting one final act of defiance.